Hi, folks. Welcome to Inclusive Collective, where we share stories and learnings of inclusive people, organizations, and innovation. I'm your co host, Nadia Butt. I'm an organizational development and belonging strategist. And I'm joined by Rob Hadley, a people and culture strategist specializing in DE&I and people analytics. We are the duo you never knew you needed. And Rob, hello. We are back.
Hello.
Season 4. Are you ready?
Season 4 energy. Yeah, I'm feeling it.
Feeling it? Yeah. How was your summer?
My summer was fantastic. We've had a couple episodes recently, so I think that people know that I almost died in Brazil.
I
I
was just gonna say, you,
was
literally almost died.
bitten by some sort of ferocious insect that
Oh my
nearly killed
gosh.
me. But other than that, I'm good. Yeah, no, everything's great. I'm feeling good.
You recovered?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally recovered. People they listened to the podcast like many months after the event occurred, so people were asking me how I
Yeah.
am now,
Yeah.
and I'm like, That was like 2 months ago, so I'm totally
Yeah, you're
fine."
like, "I'm good." That's great. That was happened when you were traveling in Brazil, right?
Yes, to see my
Okay.
wife's family, yes.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're recovered.
Yeah, how
The
was your
trip
summer?
otherwise was great. Um, my summer was good. A lot of writing. My study got approved for my dissertation, so I am in the midst of collecting data,
Okay.
which means I'm interviewing participants.
Woo, fun.
I'm moving along here. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I
um,
wouldn't wish a PhD on my worst enemy, so I'm always
really?
very it
No, that's good to know.
sounds not fun, but
No,
you seem to be enjoying
it's
it.
not. Yeah, I got this every week to look forward to, so that's keeping
Absolutely.
me like. But one thing that did happen over the summer, Rob,
Huh.
was we were humbled to have won the 2023 Golden Crane Award for Best Business Finance Podcast.
Yes,
So
indeed.
congratulations to
Congratulations
you
to
and
you.
Ari and the team at Rifelion and to me, yes.
Yeah. I now introduce
And
myself as an award-winning podcast host, right?
as you should,
At
as
in
you
every
should.
interaction, that's what I say.
Like when you're dropping your kid off at school, you're like, "Hi, I'm Rob, an
Rob,
award-winning
award-winning
co-host of."
podcast host. Yes.
I love it. Well, we do just want to thank the folks at the Asian American Podcasters Association. This award honors podcasts of distinction and overall excellence and aims to recognize and increase the visibility of Asian American podcasters. And so it was a super fun evening. I was virtual, but it was both hybrid. It was virtual and in person. Really fantastic and brilliant podcasters and nominees. It was a black tie event, Rob. Like you would
Yeah.
have loved it. You would have
You
showed
had
up
the
in your tux, like no doubt.
you had the dress on, right?
Totally. I was wearing the dress. I matched the background screen. It was black with like gold sparkle, and that's what I was wearing in my dress. But it was grand and really lovely to have won. So thank
Yeah.
you to the judges and the folks at AAPA.
I think it's fair to say that for me, and not being Asian American at all,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
of Asian descent, as far as I know, I've never done the 23andMe stuff, but it's not something that I could have predicted for the path that
Right?
from
Yeah.
my.
I mean, who
And
knew?
I think it's a testament to being open to all possibilities. And I'm so proud to work with you and be associated with you in this show and with our team at Rifelion, Ari, our editor as well. So, um, and I know that you submit one episode, right, when you're being judged. And so I would say
Yeah.
that some of our listeners might also point out that a few weeks ago, I gave an extended monologue on why I thought awards were stupid.
I know you did.
And so I want to
Yeah.
clarify, right? So like I was
Yeah.
saying that in the context of Richard Dreyfuss, the actor, saying that the new Academy Awards, the diversity standards made him sick and he wanted to allow, and so I was saying like, why are these awards for art even necessary? But when you
Yeah.
look at something like the Golden Crane Awards, which we are now winners of, and their mission, which is to promote Asian American creatives and put a spotlight
Yeah.
on their
More
work,
representation.
I'm in
Sure.
100 times out of 100 for something like that. And so,
Yeah.
really honored to be a part of it. And Nadia, now I just want to make that note that Richard Dreyfuss will never win a Golden Crane Award. So like
Never.
we're
I mean, yeah, maybe unless he's like a podcast co-host, you never know.
maybe, but I doubt it. And so I think that's something
You
we'll
done
always
it,
have
yeah,
on Richard Dreyfuss.
100%. How would you introduce yourself to Richard Dreyfuss if you
I'd
met
say
him?
I'm Rob Hadley. I'm a Golden Crane Award winning podcast host.
Amazing. I love it. Well, yeah, congrats to all at the Rifelion team and to the other nominees as well as the other winners. We've been following a lot of them on social media and they're excellent. So check out all of the nominees and the recipients on the AAPA website, and that's the Asian American Podcasters Association.
Awesome. So, Nadia, this week on Inclusive Collective, we'll be officially launching our fourth season. We'll
That's
reintroduce
right.
ourselves. We're going to talk about what's changed. We'll talk about some changes to the show and the format of the season. And we'll also do a little bit of a preview of our big time first guest interview.
Yes, really looking forward to that.
But first, let's take a moment. We had a lot of obviously the publicity from our big award win will bring a lot of new folks into the show, and so just
Yes.
want to take a moment. Let's reintroduce, and we've had some new listeners even at the end of last season, right? And so just
Yeah.
take a moment. Let's talk a little bit about who we are and just reintroduce ourselves to the audience as is customary at this time of year, right? So Nadia, tell us about
Yeah.
yourself. Give us a little bit, for those that are new to the show.
Yeah, that's great. So professionally, I'm the founder and principal consultant of Knots Consulting, and where we specialize in leadership development, strategy and planning, coaching. I am aging myself, but I
Mhm.
have over 20 years of leadership, learning, and organizational change management experience. This is how Rob and I know each other. We worked in previous worlds in many of these fields. And so I focus on people and management practices, including continuous improvement and, of course, diversity, equity, inclusion. Transforming workplace culture is my jam. Like anyone that knows me knows that I love this type of work. I love supporting organizations and creating safe and inclusive spaces. I previously worked at two Fortune 500 companies, two boutique consulting firms before starting my own thing here. And all of these experiences led me to what I do now. So, the last 4 years or so, I've spent time supporting organizations and understanding what their current state, whether it's diversity, equity, inclusion, or employee engagement, and what their learning needs are. Helping them kind of establish what their future state might look like, and then helping them, of course, close the gaps. And we can do that in several different ways, like building customized training and workshops and coaching and so on. Personally speaking, that was a mouthful, huh?
No,
A lot
I
there.
dig it. I dig it.
Um, Personally speaking, I'm a Muslim. I'm a daughter of Pakistani immigrants. I'm a sister. I'm a recent aunt. My brother and his wife had a 6 month baby girl. I'm a researcher. I'm a podcaster. And I'd say much of these, all of these kind of different pieces of identity have informed much of my career and education. So, when I'm not co-hosting with you, Rob, I'm conducting research, um, which is focused on belonging and social identity in the workplace.
Awesome. Awesome. So then my follow-up would be, so we've been doing this for
Mm.
about 18 months now. And so the question would be, what is something that you think about when you think about how your perspective has changed since we first started doing this, Nadia?
Yeah, 18 months, that's a long
Something
time,
like
Rob.
that. I don't know.
It's like wild,
I may
huh?
have made that up.
The first thing, you're officially on my speed dial, so that's changed. Like, I'm fairly certain we talk at least once a day. But I will say, like, I love this reflection question, because, like, what I've learned, like, one thing that's pretty consistent is that I feel like every time we talk to a guest, I'm learning something new, whether
Hmm.
it's like someone's perspective or someone's experience. Everyone's unique in that perspective. Um, and what's consistent is they might all approach their work differently, but for the most part, they all want the same things, like whether that's fair, equitable, inclusive environments. And I think that's been really fun. I've also learned that podcasting in general, I never really thought about this before, but it's not for everyone. I learned that because like many of my friends don't even listen to it. But what I've learned is that it's actually a mode of learning that some people need. They in terms of accessibility
Hmm.
and like they prioritize it. And I never thought about that before. Like, and it's weighed heavily on me that in the last few the last, 18 months that we've done this, that we didn't have the capacity to get our episodes transcribed. People might say like, "Oh, that's really easy," but like this is really just like a three-person deal here. And so our capacities are limited, and I know I'm making excuses, but it has weighed heavily on me. And so when I think about that and what we're always all about like continuous improvement. I've learned that this is something that people have reached out to us to say, like, we are looking for those transcriptions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to like hear what you folks have to say. And so what's really cool is that we are focused on making sure that we have those transcriptions available for season 4.
Right.
And so that's one thing that I've learned is like really taking the perspective of someone else that is seeking an accommodation or a need and really trying to help them the best that we can. And so it's cool because you also learn that like there are listeners who are avid fans who like people who wanna listen to us. Like, what? Like, they wanna hear us weekly, which, like, I'm so humbled by that. But I recognize that, like, this podcasting thing is such a privilege, that I have the honor of doing, and, getting to, like, learn from our guests and our listeners and being able to use this platform is just really incredible. And I
Yeah.
just love hanging out with you on a weekly
Oh, well,
basis.
that's great. Yeah, no, I think that's
Eh,
yeah, I just want to reinforce that because we learned so much from doing this and you're speaking out into the world and then you hope something comes back. And so we get a lot of great feedback from listeners. We get great feedback from each other, from our editor, Ari. Right. So
yeah.
at the end of every episode, we have to listen to it and see if we like what we said, if we said it the right way. And so there's obviously times when we have to, it's like, I didn't really necessarily land the right way. We're talking about sensitive topics, right? And so
Right.
definitely have those discussions. And so I learned a ton just from doing this and hanging out with you. So yeah,
Oh,
love it.
sweet. Yeah. So who are you, Rob?
Who am I? Well, I'm Rob
Who are
Hadley,
you?
and when I'm not hosting an award-winning podcast, Nadia, I do people and culture strategy. I do engagements that sit at the intersection of DEI, employee experience, people analytics, mostly with big corporations. But I'm starting to gain a little bit of traction with some rapidly scaling um, companies, startups, biotechs, things like that, as well as nonprofits as well. They're really fun to hang out with. I've hung out with big corporations my whole life. So getting to hang out with
Mhm.
some smaller growing firms is really cool. My background is in finance, strategy, operational excellence, and analytics. And then over again, the last 20 years, there's always been some sort of storytelling component using data, right? And then a few years ago, I've turned my focus to solving problems for diversity, equity, and inclusion using data. And I found that one, it suits kind of a natural inclination that I have toward skepticism, right? Because there's often answers to the problems that we're
Mhm.
presented with in this field, but people pretend like there aren't sometimes, or want to
Mm.
say that it's too hard or for whatever reason. And so, and then two, I'm incredibly fulfilled in my mission to bend the universe more toward equity, right? And so,
Mhm.
I get to meet cooler people. I get invited to more fun parties than I ever did when I
Yeah.
was working in a corporation. So really, really fun. And obviously this podcast is a huge part of that, what we do. So
Yeah.
right now, my focus is on designing and fixing people processes intentionally to be more equitable and inclusive. I have a program that I call Equity and Inclusion Mapping, where I work with HR leaders and their teams to co-create more equitable and inclusive people processes. So like performance management, hiring, supplier diversity, things like that. So
Nice.
personally, I wasn't prepared for
Yeah.
that. So
I
personally,
know.
I live in so I'm a white cis male in DEI. So so that I'm often told that I'm unique in some way, and just spending most of my time in this field. I live in Utah. I have a wife, a son, a brilliant 10-year-old son,
Soccer
brilliant
playing.
soccer playing,
Love
awesome,
soccer.
awesome
Yep.
kid. We record the podcast with my dog Ellie, who's always in the office with me as we're recording this. And
Oh.
I love to cook. I'm maturing
Mhm.
rapidly, it would seem. So like I do a lot of sports and I get hurt a lot. So usually somewhat injured whenever I'm doing the podcast in some way. There's some
I
there's some
know.
injury happening at any given point.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you for sharing that. What has changed for you? Like, what are some things that you've learned since the show started?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's fun to listen to some of those first episodes. So I was reflecting that I certainly see the world moving in the direction that we thought it would a couple of years ago when we first started talking about this. So I just didn't foresee why that would be the case. And what I mean was, like, I think about every week we talk about a story where DEI is under threat. It's, highly politicized, it's scapegoated, targeted by people with various agendas for what I think are all the wrong reasons. And I think that's why the show is becoming more relevant, right? As we have these thoughtful discussions, really interesting guests. I think it would be a great show for the people that are told that DEI is this really terrible thing coming to, with
Your
some,
neighborhood.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
coming to, whatever, replace you or whatever kind of scary things are out there, because you see that it's just so much about, like, uh, thoughtful management, right? Like in
Mhm.
leadership, and there's really nothing, it should be very controversial about the things that we're talking about every week. And so um, I think that it also, because things have become so emotional and politicized, that a focus on data driven DEI is more important than ever. And so I
Mhm.
really like where the show's going. And I think that, I think it's a show that can bring people together. Uh, we'll see if
Yeah.
that's the case. It's certainly not meant
Yeah.
to be ever be divisive, and it's meant to be inclusive.
I love that. Thanks, Rob, for sharing. Should we talk about the kind of format of the show and what people can expect?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about what's changing in season 4.
Yeah. So season 4, this season, Inclusive Collective will be dropping out on Tuesdays. So originally we were Mondays. We are now shifting to Tuesdays. Again, just to reiterate, our goal is to have the transcripts available for those who'd like access to them. We'll have the same deets, just so folks who are newer listening, when we say deets, what we're referring to is our way of covering workplace and DE&I current events. And then we'll also be we'll be reflecting. And that is kind of our take on Rob and I's take on combining reflections of the conversations that we're having, whether it's after a guest that we had. Rob, will we still be ranting and
We'll
raving?
be ranting and raving. Yes, I think, uh, originally we decided who was going to rant and who was going to rave by a coin flip. Now it's
Yeah.
just you texting me sometime during the week and telling me either something that you're upset about and want to rant about, or something that you send me in order to make me upset about something.
Yeah.
Something
I feel
you
like
know that
that's
will
more of
piss
the
me
case.
off, and so I'll do the rant. So that's
Yeah,
how we decide now, just by text during the week. But yes, we will be
that's right.
ranting and raving, and sometimes we even double rave when we want to be positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the world is already hard enough.
A- and Nadia will be launching a new segment, and we're going to try that out right now. Right. So this segment is going to be called, tentatively titled, "Can I Get 2 Minutes On?" And it is based upon those of us that have worked in organizations or in offices. I've been working from home since about 2018, right? And so,
Mhm.
and you worked at home quite a bit too before that, is
Yeah,
below
yeah,
that.
about 2016, 2017.
There you
Yeah.
go. And so remember, like, in the pandemic and everyone started working from home, and everyone
They're, like,
came to you
freaking
and they're
out.
like, "This is amazing. I get so much done," right? There's like that immediate
Yeah,
burst of productivity. And the thing that
yeah.
they said was the main root cause of that driver and productivity increase was
Mm.
the lack of people stopping by your desk and asking for your thoughts for two
Totally.
minutes on something, your desk, your office. So anyone that works in an organization, in an office setting, you're trying to get work done, trying to focus, someone walks by and they're like, "Hey, can I get your thoughts on this? Can I get 2 minutes on this?" And so that's what we're doing
I feel
today.
like I've actually done that to you when we did work in an office together. Like, I'm having moments of me coming up to your office being like, "Hey,
Yeah.
you got 2 minutes?"
Sometimes it's welcome, sometimes it's not, right? And
Right.
but so yeah, so we're gonna get 2 minutes. I'm gonna start by, and so I'm gonna get you back for when you got me when we worked together, right? And so Nadia,
Okay.
one of the things I hear a lot from folks and leaders especially is,
Mhm.
"Hey, I can't necessarily keep up with the language," right? So, like, the language of DEI is changing, terms change so often, and
Mhm.
gee, how do I keep up, and what should I be thinking about, and how do I know if I'm not saying the wrong thing? So,
Yeah.
give me 2 minutes of coaching. Can I get 2 minutes on
Yeah.
changing language around DEI?
I love it. Yeah. We do get this question a lot. So yes, language is always evolving. And I think there's like kind of two angles worth discussing. I'll do it really quickly in 2 minutes, but there are those people that who are the language regulators. Like they are the ones that who are always correcting people, likely because they are tired or often offended by people not using the most up to date language.
Mm,
They likely do have like the best of intentions, but if they're not influencing other people on like evolved language in a more welcoming manner, they could just come across as like the PC police, like when I say PC, like politically correct.
mhm.
The other angle is like the person who's committing. So like it's really up to the individual to course correct, right? But like they have to seek to understand and learn. So most times people are fairly open to having a conversation or providing feedback on language that's offensive or outdated. So it's having approaching it with like an open mind, being mindful of microaggressions, practicing empathy and active listening. So these are things that can help foster a supportive environment. That being said, I think that oftentimes, especially in my practice, I've come across people that think that inclusive language is only using the correct pronouns and gendered language.
Sure.
And yes, that's true. And there's more, right? There's even things, and I'll give examples like using we've gotten accustomed to using things like Christmas break instead of winter break,
Mhm,
or using terms like husband and wife instead of partner or spouse.
mhm.
But these are other examples of forms of inclusive language. So the idea here is that yes, it evolves, and like we have so many resources to understand like when things change, and then being open to someone who might be providing you feedback of them saying like, yes, this has changed. We no longer say Christmas break, and this is the reason why, and like having that like open mindset to actively listen as to why that might be offensive to someone or why it's changed. I think that's something that I would just, encourage people to think about. So it's like it's being open to why it's changed and understanding why, and then practicing um when being able to practice, being able to course correct, right? And like learning to seek and understand.
Awesome.
Um does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, no, that was a brilliant 2 minutes. I think it actually might have been 2 minutes, so well
Oh,
done.
right on the dot.
Well done.
Thank you.
So, thanks for that 2 minutes, Nadia. We'll be offering workplace culture DEI life tips, tricks, advice, and coaching all season long. That was great. Let's take a short break, and we'll be back with more Inclusive Collective.
Welcome back, folks. Rob, let's talk about what's staying the same in season 4. We're still gonna have the same deets. We're gonna have the rants and raves like we mentioned. What else is staying the same?
Yeah, so obviously not changing our lineup of DEI and workplace culture thought leaders, founders, those folks with innovative products or companies, things that make the world more inclusive. So we're really excited about the guest list that we have, the lineup that we have coming up.
Yeah. Not to mention, Rob, next week we have our first guest for season 4, huge guest, Mita Malik,
Uh,
a full interview with her. Such a great conversation we had. Mita, for folks that don't know, Mita is the DE&I leader at Carta. She's a DE&I thought leader, a contributor to the Harvard Business Review and many other publications. She's a podcaster as well. And now she's the author of the upcoming book, Reimagine Inclusion, Debunking 13 Myths to Transform Your Workplace. I think we have a clip here. So let's listen to a clip of our upcoming chat with her here.
Mita, I want to talk about a-holes and the
Let's
kind that we
do
find
it.
at
Let's
work,
do it.
right? So, and one of my favorites, there's a myth there that we protect the a-holes because our business wouldn't run without them. And talk about, like you set this up earlier, things that we don't necessarily talk about, the stories that we don't tell, we don't talk enough about, right? That there are people in an organization that can have an outsized impact, right, on the inclusivity of an organization. And often they're in positions of power. And so talk about this myth. What are some of the things that companies need to do to make sure they're dealing with their a-holes?
So many companies have processes in place. I talk about that in this myth and the story, which I won't give away. You all read, but it is me as an individual who shows up and wreaks havoc because of my bias, because I have a longstanding relationship with Rob. Rob didn't mean that. He didn't do that. we're misinterpreting. So I'll give Rob more chances than I'll give Nadia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nadia makes a mistake, she's out. And the question I ask is, I'm not going to use Rob. I'll use Mita. Let's switch. I feel like I'll put Rob on
You
the
can
hot
use
seat.
it.
No, but it's like, you know, Mita works for Nadia. The question for Nadia is, how much hurt and harm can Mita continue to cause in this organization without repercussions? She's lost 5 women of color on her team in 9 days, but she's still allowed to stay. And, you know, I ask leaders when I coach them and work with them, it's like, how much of the company are you willing to sacrifice for this one person?
Mm-hmm.
How much of your own leadership brand are you willing to sacrifice? And it's so fascinating how we will put personal relationships above for this one individual above all else, even when we hear the feedback and we make so many excuses. And to me, it's just sort of baffling, especially when the data is there. But one of the things I talk about a lot is, you know, exit interview data. It's like written in a notebook on number 2 pencil sometimes, and no one ever sees it again, or it's erased. And it's like, you know, if we
Or
were
even
in the
the
middle of this
questions that are
call,
asked. Yeah.
I got a bad customer review, I'd hang up and go check that review on Amazon and do everything I could to send Nadia a basket of shampoo and get her on the phone and be like, why didn't you like the product? We don't treat, you know, we treat our employees like the forgotten consumer. We don't actually think about exit interviews the way we do customer reviews. And so the question is, a lot of these things your employees are telling you when they're leaving, and we're choosing either to bury them, pretend we didn't hear it, or ignore it. Because if Mita's been a problem for a while, there's been a lot of people who've expressed it, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm. So I love that clip, Nadia. I love that conversation. I highly encourage everyone to tune in next week with that full conversation. So Mita offers a lot of great insight. We were able to read the book. The book's fantastic. And so we have a deep conversation about what's in that book, and then also some of her thoughts on DEI more broadly.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go ahead and take a short break, Rob, and we'll be back with our final thoughts. Welcome back, folks. All right, Rob, let's wrap up with one thing that we are most excited about heading into the 4th season. What do you got for me?
Can I just say, awesome guests, right? So again, we have a great lineup. We have think about the folks that we have. We got a child prodigy coming up. We're going to talk wellness, a lot of AI talk, leading recruiters. We have architects, founders, really fun lineup. Really excited about the kind of folks that will be joining us. I am also, Nadia, very excited that there will be a Republican primary going on throughout the fall.
Oh, yeah.
And that means every week you'll be losing your mind, and I will be trying to calm you down. So I'm really excited for some of those conversations.
I'm pretty sure you're going to be losing your mind, but I think mutually we'll be losing our minds, and we'll be having really fun conversations about it, I'm sure.
And we're going to try to stay positive the whole time.
Yeah, totally. I'm looking forward to the guests as well. Like you said, Robert, like top-notch people coming on, change makers, advocates, really just people who are inspiring me and like, I think really want to change the world. But also, I think this might surprise you, Rob. I'm really looking forward to us challenging each other. Like, I don't know if we have a problem, but the problem is that both you and I align on many things, and it's really rare when we disagree. So I don't know. I kind of want to I hope that we disagree on something at some point, and we can role model what like healthy debates like could look like. And so maybe there'll be a news story that we won't align.
Well, let's look for something to disagree on. That could be a new segment. Things we disagree on.
Oh, right.
That could be healthy, or it could be that could basically torpedo season 5 before it even gets underway.
Right.
All right, Nadia, that was so much fun. Thanks so much. Looking forward to season 4. That's it for this season opener of Inclusive Collective. Just a friendly reminder that if you're looking for DEI workplace culture, strategy consulting, problem solving, or training, you can reach Nadia at nadia@nasconsultants.com and Rob at rob@takanoconsulting.com. Inclusive Collective is a production of Rifelion Media and edited by Ari Mathey. We'd love to hear from you, so send us your feedback at inclusivecollective@rifelion.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Be sure to follow up on LinkedIn so you can subscribe to the IC monthly newsletter, which features add-ins and outtakes from the show. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe and rate us wherever you get your podcast. Thanks again to you, our listeners. So glad to have you back with us. We'll be back next week. Thanks, Nadia.
Be well.